Today on Gamer's Couch,
Railroad Revolution.
Hello, this is the revolutionary door of the Gamer's Couch. One game at a time? No, it's not.
2 games enter, only one leaves? Something like that? I don't know.
Reverse, because today is one of those days where he has to open the advent calendar at the end of the video.
First, we need to work a little bit and, I think talk about Railroad Revolution from What's Your Game?
If you're new to the channel or only discovered this series, my name is Sarah. I'm the artist behind Pinselgeschichten and owner of this channel. And this lovely, sweet, and very cute creature next to me, at least in my opinion, well, he's my husband, Daniel. I was talking about you being the romantic.
I've been doing.
You're not used to that.
I've been doing that same joke for now 106 videos, so keep going.
Okay, I definitely have board game recording video amnesia.
Nothing is
very
stopping.
Specific.
Nothing is stopping this train.
Anyway, we're talking board games every Sunday on this table couch thing. Because we're board game nerds. We love to play. We have quite the big collection, and we share that collection one game at a time with you on this video podcast. We have kind of a structure, meaning that Daniel is going to talk about rules and gameplay first, but it's not only talking, it's actually more like we show you a turn or two on how a specific game is played, in this case, Railroad Revolution. Then we talk about what we liked or not liked, and then we share a few of our experiences or funny stories. And since it's December, we're gonna open Daniel's advent calendar box number 2. So yeah. Sweetheart, do the talking, I do the nice looking and the coffee sipping.
Okay. Railroad Revolution from What's Your Game is a game for 2 to 4 players. Takes about 45 to 90 minutes. That at least what I can gather from looking at the box while still looking at the camera. And it stars, or it is the third in a series starring Keanu Reeves as Thomas the Tank Engine Anderson, also known as Neo, as he tries to fight his way across the Eastern American border to the Western border, where you as the player will be the architect of the railway system leading there, while also trying to do sick hacking on the telegraph offices down here. But let's not get ahead of ourselves and talk about the game.
I'm sorry. How long did you work on that joke before we started filming? Did you come up with it when we played?
That was totally improvised and not rehearsed at all.
It wasn't rehearsed, at least I hear about it the first time.
The voice in my head rehearsed it for me.
Oh, okay.
My bicameral mind was talking to me.
Awesome! Thank you, honey.
So,
wow.
Talking about the game for reals. Railroad Revolution is a worker placement game that does have you try to build a train track from Eastern America. So it's playing in the, I think, early
19th century or the 1800s?
Cut! What? 19th century, says the manual. I love editing, especially if I don't have to do it. So...
I so want to employ him now to do editing on this video today.
We are trying to connect the East Coast with the West Coast through train tracks, and we have these little wooden sticks here as train tracks. But apart from that, we also get to build train stations represented by cute little houses. And along the way, we also build up the communication network by supporting the Western Union telegraph offices, and that is in fact a secondary use of these housings where they go down here and fill up those telegraph spots. To give you a rough overview without going into too many details, Most of the game will take place on this big area where you will extend your network by placing these little train tracks, connecting stations, going further from city to city, and eventually also placing your little train stations among them, or you can skip one and do it here, trying to extend your network. On the other side, you're trying to, as I said, put down telegraph offices down here, which will give you shares. So this game has two main resources which you get to spend. One being actual money.
The American way.
Business. The other thing are shares. Now they look deceivingly similar to money, and they can actually be used as money. So each of these business shares is worth $150, but they have some additional uses which I'm going to talk about throughout the game. So each player has his turn, tries to build up the thing, tries to extend the Western Union network here. But you also have these score multiplication tracks over here. So all these three things, building stations up to the level 5 cities over here, as well as building train stations, individual houses there, or individual houses on your Western Union track, score your victory points at the end of the game. And the further along you're here, the more victory points each of those will give you. So you want to kind of balance out your turns building up this network as well as enhancing your score multiplier. But wait, there's more. Each player also receives these objectives that you can try to achieve and score additional points for them. You always have two, and once you finish these are the starter A objectives. You can then later on upgrade to B objectives. No, not the buzzing kind, but after the B comes the C, and so on and so on.
And then comes the D.
And that is kind of almost all the ways how you can score points in this. You also get points for building houses adjacent to each other down here. So if you have two houses built on two adjacent telegraph housing things, you get the points in between them. And that's that. So let me quickly reset this, because we haven't actually talked about what you do on your individual turn so far, and that is kind of the meat of the game I'm about to say. Now let's talk about the meat of the game.
So is there buffalo meat or horse or bison?
No,
I mean, we crossed the prairies.
No, there isn't. So each player also has, and this is my demonstration board.
Because somebody was wise.
So what you don't
setting up the video.
What you're not seeing on my board, there are these little train station houses up here, and the train tracks are stored up there. And this board is where you get to place your workers. Surprise! This is a Euro worker placement game where not only do you have to build train tracks and score victory points, but also, coax little wooden guys into work for you.
But honey, this place in America, why is it a Euro? Can't even get through that with a straight face.
Okay, focus on me. No, don't lose it. I'm
the devil on your shoulder.
I'm trying to speed through this. So on your turn, you have at least at the beginning you have a starting amount of these 4 white workers. You can upgrade them into these colorful workers later on, and
don't spill.
Talk about this in a minute. As everything I'm just mentioning, and we talk about this in a minute. On your turn, you essentially just have to make the choice which of the 4 kind of prime actions you want to take. And actually, you've seen them already. If you take this, you get to place a station. Placing stations not only uses up your little houses, so you take always the leftmost of your houses here and place them on a station that you have train tracks connected to, but you also get to, or have to pay, you get to pay, but you also have to pay the amount of money that is up there. Now, if you build your station there, you're getting a bonus. Good job! So, in this particular town called Washington, you are getting either a gray or an orange worker. So, you can just choose, pick that up, and put it into your, storage for workers, company, whatever. Also, if you are the first to build a train station there, which is quite fortunate for me here, you get an additional bonus, and that is the thing on the left side. So this actually says I can move forward one of my multipliers by 2, or I could move 2 for 1. That's entirely up to you. So that's building train stations. Here we have building train tracks, and this is also fairly straightforward. You pick up 2 of your tracks starting from the left, and to do so you have to pay $400 and $100 for each mountain symbol. Looking at the board, you recognize these mountain symbols here as referenced by this. So if I want to put down 2 train tracks, let's say one here and one here, not only do I have to pay the $400 for the 2 tracks, but I also have to pay $100 for each of these mountain symbols. So this entire endeavor would cost me $900 in the 19th century. So inflation, this is super expensive. Fortunately, there's some, planes that are not as expensive and don't cost any money to build tracks on. What else do we have? Well, the Western Union thing, I also already mentioned that. This isn't as expensive. In fact, you're just getting something for this. So here, again, you take the leftmost house and place it on one of these telegraph spots. Same rules apply here. If you place it on one, let's say I want to place it on this guy here, I get the bonus of 2 shares for this. And if I'm the first to do so, I get 2 additional shares. Let's ignore these for the time being, because those kind of have me to explain what some of these symbols mean. But this is an additional optional bonus I can take if I want to get rid of one of my workers, but I have to pay with one of them. Last but not least, the 4th action allows me to sell either a rail or a house for the amount of money that's on top of here. So if my leftmost is, let's say, the $600 house, I could sell that, get $600, and then turn a train, which lets me segue into the trains. So each player has little tank engines here. And whenever you trigger one of these turn the tank engine kind of things, you don't have to, but you can flip it over to use its effect that's depicted on it. This is a little bit more complicated, but there are other trains you can purchase. So let me pick up this. So if I had this tank engine, if I use this action, I can turn this over, would gain $600, and now this is on the inactive side. If I use this again, I can turn it over again and prime it to use it once more. So effectively, if you want to use one of these and reset it, you have to turn them twice. Now, you also may have noticed there's more stuff below here, and that is kind of the secondary effect that is taking place. At the beginning, you usually have your white dudes only, and wherever you put them, they will trigger this center action. Now, this allows you to get rid of one of your workers and send them to one of your quests. Taking a look at your quest marker here, for example, this says I would complete this quest if I have 2 rails on 2 spots with 3 mountains. So let's say 1 here and maybe 1 there. Building up through there. But I also have to have one gray worker promoted to this thing. So that's what I can do with placing one of my white guys here. So I can then, if I had a gray worker, promote him. Unfortunately for me, I would lose the gray guy, and then this thing kind of goes away with him. However, I keep this. If I have completed it, we just flip them over, and then you draw the next one, or get to pick the next one. Now, the main interesting part about this game is, in fact, those 4 colored options down here. And you may have already guessed it, but if you have a colored worker, you can use them in addition to, or instead of using it as a regular white worker, you could use them on the colored option. If you do so, it has a specific, well, effect on the action you're taking. The orange guys, for example, tend to make things cheaper. So if I build a station with an orange guy, this tells me I get to ignore the price tag that I have to pay for building the station. So if I would have used the orange guy to build this here, I don't have to pay the $500 and still get to build a station. Yay!
The British way.
Purple guys are all kind of related to the to the tank engine. So if I use a purple guy here, I can spend $100 to turn one of my train guys over here and either prime them again or use the effect. The gray and the blue guys have to do usually with the bonus that you can get. So if I'm using gray guy here, I get the first to build bonus an additional time. So if I'm in fact the very first to build there, I would get this twice and then the regular bonus. Or if someone else already built there, this is a way to get the first builder bonus despite not being the first to get there. Similar, the blue guy allows me to use the second or the main bonus, so to speak, but I have to pay $300 to do so. And so these affect all of these 4 different main actions in similar ways. As you can see here, orange guy makes this cheaper again. The notation is a little bit confusing, but what it means is instead of paying 400 and 100 per mountain here, you would only pay 350 per mountain, getting some cash back on this great offer of business.
The American way.
Whereas purple guy here allows you to buy a tank engine for 300. Gray guy gives you 2 shares, and blue guy would allow you to build a 3rd track. You still have to pay for them and for the mountains order. Whereas here at the Western Union side, purple guy allows you to exchange one of your guys, preferably one of the whites, for someone else. So that's one of the ways to get the colored workers. Where orange guy just gives you money for the amount of shares you receive. So that is quite interesting. If you're the first to build at one of those stations, you typically get 4 shares in total. So orange guy would give you $400 in addition to the shares. Gray guy, again, let's use the first player bonus, while blue guy allows you to use this special action that's on here without spending a worker for that. So you kind of exchange paying $400 for sacrificing one of your workers. Whereas I think now is a good time as any. These special bonuses that you can activate here, I think you can already kind of figure out what they are by now. This means get rid of one of your workers and receive $600. Get rid of one of your workers and turn either a single tank engine twice or 2 individual tank engines. This gives you a new tank engine. This allows you to promote 2 workers for your little quest tiles at the same time, and so on. And last but not least, here we have a similar thing. We use the purple guy to increase the multiplier. Use the orange guy to get money for each train you have. Use the blue guy to turn another tank engine. And gray guy, and now let's talk about shares for a bit. Whenever you see this symbol here, that means a trade is going on, and why you would want to keep your shares and not use them as money. Now, as I said, you can use those as $150, but whenever a player triggers a trade, and that happens either by, for example, building a train track on spots marked for trade, or building a Western Union house on one of these spaces that has the same symbol on there, a trade happens. Actually, the same happens if you play with a gray guy, with one exception, and I'll get to that in a minute. So whenever a trade happens, there's a special offer going on these boards here, where the player who triggered the trade gets to choose if he wants to use both options, one of them or none of them. So in this case, you can spend 1 share to buy a train for $200, or spend 3 shares to put down one of the houses at the Western Union thing, but you don't receive any bonuses for that. There's different things, and whenever a trade has concluded, these cycle through. So just to give you a quick idea, there's ways to buy meeples, ways to turn tank engines, and so on and so on. And all of these can only be paid for with shares. So you want to save the shares kind of for using these a little bit more efficient ways to use them instead of just spending money. However, sometimes you just want to spend it. Now, if you use the gray guy on the sell trains or houses stack, you also trigger a trade, but the difference is only you get to do the trade. Whereas on a regular trade, after you have chosen if you want to use one or both or none, each other player also gets to pick one, not both. So sometimes this becomes a more strategic thing where you're looking at what other players have shares currently. Can I use that without benefiting them too much, and putting more of a timing element into this? Now, you, I think, almost know everything there is to know by now, maybe except for final scoring. So
let's play. You gotta get that back.
Let's do a couple of turns.
And we need, you gotta tell me the amount of money and shares we get for starters. I didn't.
It's 600 and I think 3 shares. 2 shares. Zzz. 3 shares. I just knew that on top of my head by making this zzz.
And now I just
motion.
want to speed up the video in between. I desperately want to now, just to fuck you over. So, I'm the starting player. I have the cigar dude.
You have the top hat of starting.
Yes, he looks like Lincoln.
In fact, if we would set up this game correctly, both of us would have four white players and at least 1 colored player.
Yeah, so I'm gonna take a blue one. Thank you.
I'll just put down guys here. We would just want to give you a general idea of how this thing is working.
What I want to do first is
I think you had this prepared.
Yeah, no. I didn't know that we played with the 4. Okay, so I want to start laying down some tracks first, and I'm using my blue dude for that. Wrong color. My blue dude. So I can put down 3.
And again, Sarah takes the train tracks starting from the left, so that over the game time, you will use up all your houses and your train tracks. In fact, that is the timer that will end the game.
And I have to pay none for that. 400, 500, 600. It's like all the money.
True.
I'm so poor.
I will use my orange little guy to build a train station after I have been raving about the huge discount he gives me. Now, you have to build a train station next to one of your tracks, and that's why each player has a starting track. By the way, this is not Ticket to Ride, so players cannot block each other's tracks here, so there's enough space for up to 4 tracks, so that each player can put it down there. So now my question is, do I want to put it here or there? This gives me 2 additional shares, and this gives me a scoring multiplier. I think I'll go for the 2 additional shares, and I want to pick up a blue guy as well. So I get this, I get 2 shares, and now since I have this spot blocked, if Sarah wants to build a station here, she only gets to choose between purple and blue guy. A word about the workers while Sarah is still contemplating what she's doing.
I know, I'm gonna build a union station.
You have your storage of workers next to the board, but if you use the worker, those stay on your playing board or action board until you have either spent all of them and then you get all of them back, or it can stay as long there as you are getting more new workers that kind of get to be placed there. So one of the advantages of having not that many workers in this game is that you get your workers back quicker.
Also, you cannot do an action where you send somebody off if you have less than 4 workers.
True.
We forgot to mention that. I have made my turn. I built a station.
Okay.
Thing.
Did you send someone off for 600?
Nope.
Quick aside, if Sarah wanted to send someone off, she can actually decide whoever she wants to send off. So she can also send someone off that she just even placed on this board, which gives you a lot of freedom. In addition to that, something, and I kind of go ahead here, that makes the game a little less complicated as maybe other games and more welcoming is if you have to pay for something and also use an action that gives you money. Essentially what the game is telling you is, well, tally up all the income you're getting for whatever action you want to do this turn and tally up how much you want to pay, and don't worry about it as long as it kind of evens out. So even if Sarah would have no money, but would, for example, build a station here that would cost money, but would also give her money maybe for one of those bonuses there, she could pay the station with the bonus she would get for the station. So I guess it's my turn, right?
Mm-hmm. I have built a telegraph.
To give you an idea what I want to go for maybe is, I have this thing that tells me I need 2 tracks on 3 mountain spaces, so this for example, or I could try to do this, which says I want to have a station on a number 1 city, so one of these, and a station on a number 2 city. So I think I should try to go after this, maybe even while trying to do this. So what I'm doing is I want to build some train tracks. Oops. I want to build one here because it's cheap and free. So I have to pay 400. Let's see. I want to build one here because I want to go for the 3 mountain range thing. And why not build one here to show you how the trade works? So first I have to pay, and in this case it's 400 plus 3 of these, so I have to pay 700. I only have 600 in real world money, so I have to pay with one of my shares to get there and get some change back, at least. And after doing that, I now triggered a trade, as indicated by this thing. So let's take a look at this here. I can do both if I wanted to. In fact, I have enough money, I have enough shares to do both, but I don't have enough money to buy the tank engine then. And what do I want to do? Do I want to get rid of, or do I want to build a house or not? I think I'm going to spend one of my shares to just use the top action and then pay with another share and $50 to get one of these. Since I already said that money is tight, I want to pick up one of those.
I'm gonna do the same thing. That's 300 minus, that's 100. I want to have the 600 locomotive, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
To give you a quick idea of what stuff is available here,
while I do my turn?
Yes. You've already seen the 600 bucks engine. There's also one that allows you to move forward your scoring multipliers. This one allows you to place a train track for 100 bucks. But you don't have to pay the the additional cost for mountains, which makes this quite attractive. And this here just gives you 3 shares. And that's kind of all of them. You can have multiples of the same. However, all the engines are limited. So if someone has bought up everything of a specific kind, you're out of luck.
My turn is done.
Further. What did you do?
I built a station. I took myself a blue meeple. I paid $500. And you're up.
That's an expensive thing to do.
I know, but I need something.
I will build another station, in fact, down here. I don't have an orange meeple to put on there, so I have to pay with one of my shares, but I will get a gray meeple for that. And now I can turn a train if I wanted to for $100. I will spend my last shares for that to turn my $600 engine to get me some money. So I'm rich again. Well,
maybe
mildly rich.
Okay, I'm going to use the blue one on the trade thing, which lets me turn a locomotive once more. I sell one of my train tracks for 600.
In fact, Sarah has the choice here because she has
2 trains.
The tracks and the stations at the same level. So she could have sold either the station or the train track.
No, I'm gonna go for the train track. What I'm gonna do now is turn the locomotive that has the put 2 workers somewhere. I'm gonna put the 2 blues on my 2 thingamajigs, which has me having both objectives completed. I do have a 1 station here, and I have train tracks on 2 different types of cities that are a 2, and I do have 2 tracks that have a 1 bumpy.
In fact, since I didn't pay attention, I could have used my white guy down here while building the station to promote the gray guy I just got to, in fact, finish also one of mine. Yeah. But just to get through this quickly...
So that would mean now that I would put them aside. Those go into the pool, and I can choose 2 new ones.
Yes. Now, kind of doing this one after the other, although we won't... I think we're done here with the...
No, I'm going to turn this one back, which was from my thing, and I think that concludes...
Yeah, going with the play example. Since Sarah finished at least one of her quests, what will happen now, we will draw 3 B quest tiles. She gets to pick 1 as a replacement for her first A tile. And after that, these go back under the stack, and she gets another 3 to replace her second A tile. Now, this will go on, and you will gain more workers, you will spend workers either through these or by promoting them for your little quest things. And you will expand your train system or track system until a player has successfully, sold or gotten rid of all the stations up to his company logo. So essentially the entire left side of this has to be empty. That triggers the end of the game, where each player, including the starting player, gets another turn. So if you aren't the starting player, you kind of get 2 turns, and then with the starting player, each player takes another turn. That's why you have some additional space here to sell stuff or play stuff. After that has concluded, each player will tally up the score, and that is, as I said, amount of stations down here multiplied with the number on the track, amount of train stations on this board multiplied with the score number here. This gives you victory points for amount of cities that you have connected with your railway station. You don't need to have a train station here. You just need to have your rails connecting up to the city. So this would at maximum give you 75 points. And then you add the victory points for adjacent Western Union stations you have here, plus whatever of these quests you have finished. If you have the most points, you can decide to take the red pill and are free to live your life in reality. It was the red pill, right?
I guess.
I think so.
Very nice.
So
let's hop into the next section, likes and dislikes. I'm going to start because you talked so much and I silently did my turns and I fulfilled both of my objectives first. So, I'm going to take that away right away. I'm going to compare this game very heavily to Ticket to Ride and to Trains and Stations, just because it is the third train game that we have. I'm not going to compare it to Cold Express because, well, it plays in a train, but that's not building trains on the board. While Hubby shows you all the components, and maybe please not in my face this time round like you did last time.
If to the people if you like this.
Yeah. There's definitely things I very much like about this game, and there's things that I'm not sure about yet. So I cannot say if I dislike them or if they maybe are just neutral or going to be on the like section in the end. But I'm gonna explain what I mean there. So the one thing that I very much like is that it does things better than I like them with the two other games that I just mentioned, Ticket to Ride and Trains and Station. For one, Ticket to Ride, yes, of course, the objective there is to connect stations or cities first, and you can block off people. Would that mechanic be in this game, I would have hated it, and I'm very grateful that you could not block other players on the board with your tracks. You just maybe get somewhere first and get the bonus first, or get another bonus. And that is all that is to it when building the tracks here or the stations. So I liked that a lot, that you're not under pressure, or you can never be cut off of a way there, which I very much prefer to, well, Ticket to Ride there, because cutting off in this particular case here would suck big time. Comparing it to the other choo-choo train game, the Trains and Stations, there's no dice in here, so I'm not gonna suck in this game per se, which again I like a lot. This is a very traditional worker placement game, and it does all the things that I like about worker placement games, and it does something super well and in a way that I haven't come across in any other game yet, at least not any other game that we own, which is you don't use all of your workers and then you wait for everybody else to place their workers and actions, and then you take them all back and then you start all over again. No, you loop them. You loop them in your own speed, and you're not gonna have to wait until somebody else's turn is fully done, just because you might have 5 workers more than you.
Well, yeah, okay.
You know,
that's
like with
okay, yeah.
like with the Lords of Waterdeep, for example, whenever you have somebody at the harbor or you have the ambassador, you always have to wait till somebody has placed 2 or 3 meeples.
You don't have rounds in the sense of everybody gets to place all of their workers.
Yeah,
yes.
so you cycle through your own amount of workers.
It's almost like a train in
Yeah, exactly. And I really like that idea of not having a specific turn, meaning you put down 1 meeple, everybody else does. You put down 1 meeple, everybody else does. And then you wait for 2 turns because somebody has more meeples than you. I like that it's just infinite looping, and you're just taking turns until something happens, which is having all the houses and train tracks laid down or sold.
So apart from being a game about trains and stations, in comparison just to the worker placement aspects, anything else you liked or disliked in particular? Because I think it's a little bit of an unfair comparison.
Yes, I know. I know. It's these other games are not supposed to be played like that, but I take these mechanics and imagine they would be in this game, and it would be horrible. And I'm so thankful that it's not in there.
I have to say these
objectives,
these quests or objectives feel very similar to the
quests
cards in Ticket to Ride or in train stations.
Or the quests in Lots of Waterdeep when you compare it with the work placement. But I'm actually not 100% sure of those objectives yet. This is what I meant with there's something in there I'm not sure. And that will tie already in the funny stories and experiences quite a bit. And I don't know how to separate it and tell you what I think without spoiling the experiences. Now, we played it with 2 and 3 players, and I found that these objectives...
I, in fact, played it with 4 players. Well.
And I wonder if... But you said it wasn't 100% correct that you played it at the trade show, at the demo. Was it just the Union Station that was maybe not 100% correct? No, you said you built with those points here, you didn't build right at the station.
No, we were just not aware of how the track scored.
So, well, then I'm going to tell you what I think, and then I'm bouncing the question back to you. What do you think? Am I somewhat correct or not? So, I feel these objectives are way more powerful the more players you have at the table. In our 2-player game, they could have been there or not. It wouldn't have made a difference at all. We played very differently from what we focused on in our first game. And we scored exactly the same amount of points on the objectives. Having said that, I went for the objectives. He didn't seem to only focus on those. So with a 3-player game then, again, I went only objectives, and only if I couldn't do anything for them, I went for other things that turn. So I did pretty much the same thing that I did before, but you focused also very heavily on the objectives this turn. And this time around, we had a huge point difference on the objectives. So I wonder if it's different the more players you have. But I cannot see how it should be different because you do exactly the same thing. There's no other condition that is different when you have more players at the table. Again, you cannot cut each other off and things like that. So, I don't know.
Yeah, this is already kind of a spoiler because we now own this game and I demoed this at Essen and this was a 4-player game. So obviously I think this is a good game because I picked it up. I wouldn't go so far that that these objectives are super powerful in relations to player count. I think these are the main way to make points in the game, which when we played this the first time, I was kind of under the impression of guided by this being there, the fact that there's a scoring multiplier, that this kind of gives you the idea of, hey, these are the 3 main ways to get points, and you want to push them forward. Although I have to say that when we played this at Essen, we had one player at the table who was going straight only for these and maximizing just these, pretty much ignoring all the other scoring opportunities with the track or this thing. Only if he could do anything else, he was maybe pushing some of them, or if it was just happening as a bonus for whatever else was going on. And he wiped the floor with us in terms of points. It was, I think, like 80 points ahead of us. When we played the first time for 2, I would actually go so far to say that both of us didn't really focus on these very much because we ended up being the same, and I didn't really focus on those at all. I just saw, hey, this is easy to achieve.
Yeah, and I did focus. So but we were exactly the same thought. So I didn't feel
I don't think you really focus on them because none of us got to the D thing. And if you go for them...
No, I couldn't complete D.
Yeah, if that's what I mean with going all in and just going through to...
Shy of 2 turns, I could have completed D. So I was really focusing, and still we had the exact amount of points, both of us. So I just wonder, I'm not saying it's bad or not, but it's just... I'm not sure about it.
The thing I notice is certainly different in a 2-player versus a more player game are these traits.
Oh yeah,
because
they're
obviously if you have more players, chances of these getting triggered are certainly higher, which kind of make the shares a little bit more important because now you certainly have more opportunities to use these special actions, and they are good. And in most cases, there's one thing on there that is good. And almost every time we play this, and I don't have any shares, I feel a little bit sad inside not being able to take on this great business deal that is in front of me. No, all joking aside, these are great, and they feel like really good deals when they come along, and you kind of. That really keeps you a little bit from spending your shares too much as money.
You really have to think, is it worth spending a share for another action that has nothing to do with any kind of trade? Sometimes you have to, because you're just not getting any dollars, so you got to get to the point where you get the dollars, but then you got to spend a share. Is it worth it? And inside you're agonizing. So, like with any good worker placement game.
So overall, to finish the comment on the scoring, at least to me, this game feels like you have to go after these first, and what happens here is kind of the tiebreaker or the secondary thing.
Yeah, it's the icing on the cake. I guess
that's going on. Whereas going in, I was kind of under the impression. Well, maybe it could be that that our game just took too long for this to not matter. And what I mean with that is maybe when we played this here, our games went on long enough for everybody to actually do some completioning is a really great word.
It's a new word.
To complete these while kind of de-emphasizing the scoring track, which could be perfectly fine. I mean, in both cases, I do like the game. It's just something that kind of was like on first play, I was did I play this not optimal? Which is no surprise after the first game, but it's kind of this entire setup kind of allures to there being 3 main ways to focus.
Yeah, and then it's actually just one.
Maybe you have to. Actually 4. So these 3 and then these.
Yeah, I'm just saying these are. If you would disregard the objectives, would just go with that, you would very likely not be able to win, because there. Yes. Meaning you have to. Well, this is the cake. This is the icing. This looks pretty, but this is a must-have. So, and then with the. It just felt very different with the 2 and the 3-player game. So I was not sure if maybe those objectives are different the more players you have, and that they're maybe not as strong when you're just playing with 2 players.
Yeah.
So.
Regarding the other mechanics, I very much like the specialized or the worker placement mechanic of having specialists and using these things. It evokes a similar feeling that Scythe does for me. Hey, you get to do an action and then you get to do another cool thing with this kind of enhancing the effect of what's going on. I am aware that there's other games from What's Your Game that do the same. I've demoed Signori the year before, and while I found that interesting, I think this here, the theme and the overall setup with the game was a little bit more what's a good word?
Down your alley.
Digestible. So what I mean with that is
you're not a pimp. You cannot.
I don't. Actually, I found the idea behind Signori more interesting than this, but I think this to me has more appeal or had more streamlined feeling in terms of gameplay, which is why I then picked it up. So this was kind of the worker placement mechanism I really liked in Signori, but also in a more palpable, I think is the word, composition that I very much enjoy here. So
What did you think of you being able to place multiple meeples on a single spot with the worker placement?
I do like
because that is quite unusual. It's only very few games where you can do the same action again and again. And you just saying scythe reminded me, if you're not the Russian dude, you cannot do that. So.
Well, at least you have to alternate. But I do like this here because it just... While this may be prone to analysis paralysis, I actually do like that this game gives you, or it feels like this game gives me a lot of freedom what I can do on my turn. And is not restricting me with saying, you must have all the money up front before doing X. If the action allows me to do that, that's fine. The same with this, it's just convenient to play it that way, being able to do that stuff.
It a lot.
Similar to the what you said, the fact that you don't have to wait on all the other players to finish the round if they have more workers than you, and there's no race. There's no race to have more workers than the other players, which I also like. It's more here about how do you specialize on your workers, which...
Yeah, it's like you're pretty much... It almost feels like you're building your engine. Choo-choo. And it's not only a strict worker placement game. At least it doesn't feel like that, though. With the way you move at the board and stuff, it's actually, it's a worker placement game. But it also kind of cures or tames the analysis paralysis. You still have to think 3 moves ahead, but only 3 and not 10, because you can always put a meeple on a spot that's already occupied. So that's fine. Yeah, it just makes things a little less daunting when you think about, okay, what do I want to do this turn? What do I want to achieve, you know?
I mean, the only thing that does, in fact, limit you is what colors of meeples are available.
And you can paint them with nail polish.
For my next action, and that's it. There's... I think in playing all of these games, it happened, but it wasn't as obnoxious as in other games. If a player takes something before you were able to take that, so especially the first to build bonuses on the train stations or on the Western Union houses. As I said, that's annoying in the moment, but I almost always had the feeling of but I can compensate by going there, or I'm going to build there anyway, because in fact I want to have a town there to fulfill this thing. And,
you're never stuck.
I also like the engine stuff that almost feels like, hey, there's a really cool superpower that you have to charge up and then can use at certain times. By the way, these are also worth victory points at the end of the game, but only if they are with the active side face up. So if you use them, they're worth nothing, which makes up for a nice little race for how do you suplex a train.
Yeah,
which is a Final Fantasy reference, which I hope you get.
Turn them? I didn't get it.
No, I'm talking. No.
You don't talk to me. Yeah, right. So shall we rate, or is there anything else that you want to say?
No, I think I'm good. So
I'm tilted because of the objectives a tiny bit. It might be that in a couple of games when I really figured it out, it might be a super thumbs up, but I really like this game.
I have
just not sure about that one thing.
I have to say there's nothing I really dislike about this game. No. As I said, my first initial misconception was kind of my error, and certainly not the fault of the game. And I might be wrong. So actually, I hope that I'm wrong. And this is something I like about this game. It warrants multiple plays. It makes me think about what can I do differently next time. There's a different area to focus on, but it is still a rather simple to pick up and teach and play while still being a heavy Euro game. I really like this. This has to me, this feels a little bit in terms of gameplay fluidity like Orleans, where it is.
Yeah.
There's a lot of meat and there's a lot of interesting choices to be made, but since every time it's your turn, you kind of have those 4 base actions and then some flavors sprinkled in there through your colored meeples. It's not overwhelming, and I really enjoy that.
Yes, me too. So since we already sprinkled in so many of our experiences into the likes and dislikes, do you have anything to add, or shall we combine it all in one, which I would have done in post-editing already,
I think
just go for the advent calendar?
I think we're good.
Yeah. If you have questions, if we missed something, if you're unclear on something, just comment in the comment section below, and we're happy to help there.
One important thing we've been missing, because we haven't done this for this game yet. Here's your German lesson of the day, and that is kind of really important for this kind of game and for games in general. So the German word Zug means train as well as turn, as in your turn. So if you're someone saying, "Hey, hör mal, ist dein Zug?"
Choo-choo.
Then that means, "Hey, dude, it's your turn. Don't keep up," or, well, do keep up in this case.
Yeah.
But as Sarah indicated with the audio cue, it also means a train, which you can annoy people to no end and almost have them leave the table, because after like a full year of that joke every week, it's getting a little bit old.
I'm not old. You get a Christmas advent calendar gift now, and I can say train choo-choo 10 more times this year on the game table, because I don't realize that it's just like when you hum or something while you set up your game and you're fiddling around. He's explaining the game to the other people at the table that haven't played it yet, and he's just like that. And in your turns, like in deinem Zug, and I say choo-choo. I'm sorry about that.
So if all you wanted to know is about Railroad Revolution, you can check out now. Thanks for joining us. If you want to see us again, subscribe or like or both. And I will now check out the new duck I'm getting. I'm already very excited.
And the new board game.
First, the duck. Let's see.
Important things.
It's another white duck on white background, which I already like.
He's a ghost duck.
With red sprinkles now. So let's see. It's a...
Cylon.
It's the duck of the opera.
Cylon duck of the opera. He wanted to be a Cylon.
But they have the red.
Yeah, but you cannot see it all the time. He's sneaky. He's just the
duck,
opera.
The duck is a little bit weird. But,
yeah, of course.
And yes, we know it's a platypus kind of thing, but
it's a duck.
It's still called Psyduck or Enton.
Ente, by the way, being duck. So that's why we call him a duck.
Thank you very much. I like this this musical duck a lot.
Well, now you can see what... do you have a guess for the game that's in there?
I was first misled looking at this, thinking this is one game, but I think these are actually 2 games. They have the signature... I feel something being yellow in here.
Yeah, it was the duck.
Let's see. So it's these boxes have a very distinct feel to them. So I think I have a good idea what could be in here.
Say it before you look.
I think it's Happy Pigs and Pied Piper.
We'll see.
Am I good?
You're a very good husband. Yes.
It's books of the Pied Piper and Three Little Pigs, which you can't see because of glare.
And now the collection is complete.
Yes, I have to say, yes, these are kids' games, but I really like the book version of this. And
do we seem adults to you, folks?
And as some of the games from this series, for example, the Hare and the Tortoise.
Yeah. Aladdin.
What?
That's what this year.
No, the Hare and the Tortoise is certainly a game totally perfectly fine to play for adults, and So I'm looking forward to these, even though some of these are certainly just meant for small kids, but that just means we have to switch off one of our brain halves.
Or both. We can get drunk and then we
switch off both.
No, I mean, you have to switch off one and I have to switch off one. That makes us kids.
Thank you very much for this Advent.
Who's Advent?
Advent present.
Wolfsburger, we're sober, folks.
Thank you for joining us and sticking till the end. See you next week. Next week we're still here.
Yeah, and then one more.
And then the week after, and then it's...
the 2 Advent boxes there have to be
Christmas
opened.
Time.
The 2 boxes there have to be opened, and then we're going to return next year.
That makes sense. I don't want to leave you guys out of checking out the other 2 boxes.
And these are the big boxes. These were the small boxes. So the other ones are maybe the bigger games.
So you're calling the other 2 ducks fat? No.
Bigger.
Again, thank you for joining us. See you next week.
Yes.
Have a great...
Second Advent, Sunday, enjoy, relax, do artwork, color, knit, cook, woodwork, play games.
Game time until we see each other again. Goodbye.
Bye.